Hello and welcome back, disc golf enthusiasts from around the world, to this final Front 9 MPO lead card coverage of the 2025 Ale Open. Only 18 holes separate our lead card from greatness here near Gothenburg, Sweden. This coverage is brought to you by MDG Media. I've heard almost 60% of you who watch are not yet subscribed. We recommend you do so to stay up to date on the best disc golf coverage in the world. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor, and specifically what's up, viewers? Nice to see you here in the final round. Hope you have enjoyed our coverage so far. If you have, you're gonna love this one. Final round, tight situation in the tournament. The leader after 2 rounds, Ricky Wysocki, set a goal of shooting 10 under per round after round 1. Almost up to pace, 18 under after 2.
And I think he's spot on with the required score. We see joining him Niklas Anttila, one of the best Finnish players, super hot right now. Speaking to him in the practice area has told me he sort of refound his backhand swing. An interesting note regarding his confidence coming into this round.
And a player that doesn't need to find his backhand swing again, Davidsson. Incredible player, specifically on this course, won this same tournament with a score of 27 under last year. Incredible driver and a great putter nowadays.
Rounding out our lead card, Joona, Heinänen, incredible backhand thrower of the disc, tons of power, and is able to craft lines really well. Fantastic control. We kick it off here on hole 1.
Hole number 1 is a long par 3 playing at 145 meters. A little bit downhill though, so you probably don't have to throw it quite as far as power. OB left, OB right. The fairway is quite wide, and in today's conditions where we don't really have a lot of wind, it's gonna be playing much easier in the rounds past. Rounds past, it was a good hole to take a par. In the final round, you need to have a putt for birdie to keep pace.
It's time for the final round of Ale Open 2025 presented by Discraft. This is your lead card in the MPO field. Team off first, sponsored by Discraft from the United States of America, 2-time world champion Ricky Wysocki.
Ricky, being one of the, if not the highest player in this event, is coming in here as the fan favorite, the expected winner, but heavy lies the crown. He kicks it off here on hole 1.
Going for that big hyzer route, a very typical play. This one is looking a little bit wide and too wide out of the hand. OB.
Representing Finland, let's give it up for Niklas Anttila.
Pretty big mistake from Ricky to start off the round, and right off the bat, Niklas being 3 strokes back, he has a chance to take back 2 of those, as Ricky will most likely be ways back from the basket, just trying to approach for bogey.
In comparisons to Ricky's power, he's able to hit that one-angle power hyzer. Niklas more known for his angle control, likely to shape something you see with a soft turnover, but a pure distance line. A net straight result, skips up to circle's edge. A great display of his control with the disc.
Next 2 teams, sponsored by Lucky Discs from Finland. Let's welcome the defending champion, Davidsson.
Daniel, definitely a player that fits well into Swedish culture, a Swedish speaker from the family, and a very likable guy. He's going for the wide hyzer as well, with a more overstable disc than Ricky, more height than Ricky, and you can see the difference in result, putting it inbounds inside the circle. A great way to start off the final round.
And last 2 teams, sponsored by Innova from Finland, let's welcome Joona Heinänen.
I think this particular course and layout favoring Joona's skill set very well when he can put it together on the green. He can be a very lethal player, has a lot of experience internationally. Rounding out our lead card here today. Looking for a podium bid here at Ale 2025.
A heavy hyzer release, getting some flip up. This one needs to stay safe. And that's exactly what it does. An interesting point about Joona's game, I feel like Joona and Daniel actually have very similar games, as both are strong on the backhand throw very far, and they both love that slight hyzer release out of the hand.
We saw a great battle between them historically at the Järve Open that Joona actually ended up taking down. Similar situation there where their skill sets were very well matched. Ricky gets his upshot with in range, one of the strongest putters in the field.
Yeah, Ricky even challenging the #1 spot in the world. Joona here, circle 2 look. A tentative bid on hole #1. As you can see, the leaves on the background are not moving at all. The wind is completely down. The scoring conditions are perfect. And putting is much easier than in rounds past.
Niklas as well, just a touch shy. Neither of those putts fully committed in terms of height and power. I would expect Rick here with quite a powerful putt from even this short distance. That was pretty smooth, not too heavy, but great control and a important bogey save there, considering his position as solo leader.
Still shaking his head, a little disappointment there. And Daniel, an uncharacteristic miss from him for this season. His putt has been looking extremely solid so far. Potentially some nerves, as he was already on the lead card in the last round. But of course the final round brings in a different type of pressure, especially chasing players like Richard Wysocki and Niklas Anttila.
And just like that, no birdies are found on hole 1 by our lead card, Rick with the lone bogey. This hole, however, could be a change of pace. Hole 2 is a very gettable 173-meter par 4. You have this initial tee shot. Most of these guys are going to be throwing a hyzer over these bushes in the lower right frame, trying to land right in the mouth of this entrance to the tree line. If you can hit that gap nicely, you're then left with a 60 or so meter uphill shot where you have a great backstop. Very common for someone to try and just run the chains and sit down nicely. Those rocks in front of the basket, however, can offer some danger of rollaway if you come in on hyzer, so angle control is also very important. We go to Niklas up first now on the tee.
Niklas with a beautiful shape. It's looking like it's early, fading a little bit early here. And while that is about 5 meters shorter than the ideal spot, usually you have some sort of a low ceiling shot from there. And in comparison, a much higher line from Daniel, utilizing his power to get all the way to the gap with that higher hyzer, and that is just absolutely picture perfect.
Joona with an even higher line than Daniel. Great display of his power as well. You see why these guys have found themselves on the lead card. Elias, I would assume that this is one of the easiest holes statistically, especially given the lack of wind here in the final round. Would I be close to right?
You're not only close to right, you're absolutely correct. It is the easiest hole of the course. Averaging more than a half a stroke below par, 61% birdies on this hole. And that tells you exactly what you need to know. Everybody on the lead card is expecting the birdie here, and they're going to be extremely disappointed if they don't get one.
And you can see both Niklas and Rick forced to go for a very awkward second shot. That sweet spot that you're in, that you have to be in for a clean shot, is actually very small. Joona as well. The more rare forehand out of him, but a great display that he is in fact more versatile than he may let on. Well-rounded game. Daniel known for the smooth forehand and gives it a beautiful run. That is a common attempt there if you're in a good position.
Daniel asking in Finnish, wondering if there had been a throw-in on this hole, and it seems like the answer to that question is no. I believe there was no eagles in rounds 1 and 2 either. But I actually personally saw Arvid Håkansson on my card hitting the cage and the chains on this hole, so definitely a hole that you can run for the eagle. Even though our lead card didn't do that, everybody's going to be tapping in for birdie. Great score on hole number 2.
It is a little bit surprising, given that it's so friendly and we have so many talented players here, but an eagle's an eagle, it's not going to come easily. But we do see the star frame, almost as expected here on the easiest hole 2.
Hole number 3 now, that was playing earlier in the week, it was playing well above par. Now just barely above par. That's because the wind is so far down. Basically calm weather now. We're going over the OB. You can choose a straight, sort of a flex shot with a right hand backhand, or you can go for a huge hyzer around the right side. I'd say with no wind, these players have the power to reach it with a huge hyzer, and that is going to be the easiest, most consistent play. You just have to throw it as hard as you can, high above the right side trees. Niklas, not being as far of a thrower, wouldn't be surprised to see him going for this straight line as he's doing.
Not only does it suit his preference, but he's one of those guys I would absolutely pick to execute a shot like this that's much more about angle control and touch. We go to Daniel, utilizing the available power, playing a high and wide hyzer. With the limited wind, this shot is playing much more controllable than in previous rounds. And you see that there, getting to just about circle's edge, slightly outside perhaps. Joona as well, opting for the right side, has a good read from Daniel's width.
This one a little bit wider, very safe still, and not very safe actually. He's about 1 meter from the OB.
Totally safe.
Totally safe. And that's actually a big difference between going to the OB there a meter longer. You would have to go to a mandatory drop zone that is about 80 meters away, so no chance for par. And Ricky here, perfect looking line. Power is almost perfect inside the circle there, I believe, for a birdie putt.
And we had a good view quickly at those intermittent showers coming down on and off throughout the day. It's what Elias and I referred to as fake rain during the round, but it's enough to compromise grip potentially. We go now to Niklas from circle 2.
Seriously, he says, as Ricky has a great chance to pick one more stroke on Niklas. Look at that. 3-stroke lead. Getting it back to where it was at the beginning of the round. Very good bounce back after the bogey on 1.
Rick has had some great putts on this green throughout the weekend. Daniel, a fantastic bounce back considering the putt on hole 1. I think that one can build the confidence for sure, as he also is 2 under through the first 3.
You can see, you can hear the bass heavy clapping in the audience. A lot of people watching this final round.
We continue to the dangerous hole 4, par for 200 meters. This initial shot is a straight downhill one. You want to end just long and to the right of this bush in center screen. You have OB lining the left side the entire way, but nothing on the right, so most players will err to the right on the tee shot. You then have to throw over this river of OB, crash through this late gap into the green, and manage your speed and angle coming into this sloped green with a slightly elevated basket and OB behind. We've said it before, we'll say it again, there's just so many elements on this hole that you need to manage, risks you need to mitigate, that par is a pretty solid score. For the upper end of the field here, though, they're still going to be attacking, particularly with a good drive. That's often a qualifier for how aggressive you can get on the second.
Daniel going for the huge hyzer, a great play and a unique play. We don't see a lot of players doing the same here. It's very consistent. He has been in the same exact spot for 3 rounds in a row. And this is the more conventional play. And honestly, the drive just got so much easier in the final round with no wind. It used to be a headwind downhill for rounds 1 and 2. Now 0 wind on the drive. Pretty easy to control the angle. It's more about just aiming the shot correctly.
Niklas with a hyzer release and a slow drifting Anheuser flight does connect with that right side tree line. Just shy of that drop zone is a reasonable spot.
And the sharpest of few might have caught Mr. MDG Maxim Tange taking in the action and spying for some information in the audience. As we see Joona going further than the rest of the card, that's going to open up a different angle, more of a left to right moving shot.
And Joona's a good dude, enjoying the action. We have Niklas up first, playing a soft hyzer shape, trying to beat this late tree line, simply get himself up into the green. And that is super smooth, accepting a left-ending shot, but knowing he can get himself into putting distance. That's just some experience right there.
And look at this shot from Ricky. Absolutely the best approach we have seen on this hole throughout the entire weekend. He's going to be under the basket and putting so much pressure on Niklas's putt there. Just incredible how he can manipulate the angle of the disc with that forehand.
Joona, a common result and a fortunate kick out to the right. He'll be left with a simple putt approach, likely a layup with the OB and sloped danger. Daniel very smooth with the forehand angle control as well. We'll see if he finds the overstability at the right time. Comes up a touch early, but it's enough to hit the gap. He will, however, be putting downhill, which can be a little touchy, although that last putt on hole 3 looked pretty smooth.
Raptor? Yeah. Yep.
Very tense moment here on the screen. Important putt for Niklas, and that's not going to drop. And talking about dropping, he's going to drop 4 strokes back off the lead here. And same thing for Daniel. Amazing opportunity to start off 4 through 4, but a couple of missed putts keeping him from having an incredible start to the round. And it's good to mention that the starting 4 holes, besides hole 2 being the easiest on the course, are actually pretty difficult. All 3 of holes 1, 3 and 4 are playing above par, which not many holes are playing above par in this final round, and none of the holes are playing significantly above par. The course is playing much easier than in rounds past.
I particularly enjoy seeing these great scoring conditions on the final day. It's a bit of an equalizer and will truly show where these guys are at in terms of comfort on final day lead card. They will continue to hole 5, a 92-meter par 3 shaping through this beautiful tunnel, most naturally for, I think, a soft Anheuser backhand that then flexes out to flat at the end, but a forehand hyzer flip is also completely viable and often plays towards the safer right side hill. This is one of the easiest greens, not too much danger, no OB to speak of. It is full steam ahead with an average score of 2.45. Second easiest hole, Elias?
Definitely, yeah. And Ricky went with an overstable forehand yesterday, switching up the game plan, and for good reason. Look at that. He was outside the circle yesterday, now inside the bullseye. That's a sign of a great player when they can make a mid-tournament adjustment.
And a beautiful execution of the forehand line there from Daniel. This is exactly the type of shot that he is so good at. Niklas with the putter. Slow turnover. A bit of a strange reaction on the ground there. More often slides up, but a very well thrown shot. Joona, I think, looking for something very similar.
Yeah, Joona actually disking up to a mid-range, probably just for the comfort of throwing it a little bit softer, but tends to turn it over a little bit there, and a circle 2 look is still makeable, but on this one you really like to be inside of circle 1, like 61% of the field.
Just off the cage, you could see there was hope in him that that one was landing once it left his hand. And with Niklas, there we go, finding a smooth delivery into the chains. Rick as well, as you said, Elias, showing his skill set and his awareness to the situation, swapping to the backhand today and executing flawlessly. Daniel on the forehand, flawlessly. We see 3 out of 4 birdies here on hole 5.
Moving on to the island hole, one of the island holes of this course. Technically hole 3 was already an island hole, but this one feels more like so. 103 meters, we're going downhill, so you probably have to throw about 80 to reach the basket. The most amount of space on the island is going to be short left, and that's where most of the players are trying to land their disc. Land it a little bit left of the basket, a little bit short of the basket, slide your way up there. It's very common to see discs either inside the circle on this hole or OB. There's really not many ways you can be outside the circle while hitting the island. And it's a polarizing hole. It's usually either a birdie or a bogey.
And Ricky has yet to take a par. That polarizing hole likely keeping him on this up and down streak. That sat just in time. Very common result there with the slightly overstable forehand for a very fast green. Daniel playing something a touch more understable. It has a lot of glide and an important drop out of the sky there, just in time.
I love Daniel's forehand on this hole.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one player to throw this hole for me, I would probably pick Daniel. He has beautiful flip-up game with that orange approach disc. And Niklas, not too shabby either, going more overstable and utilizing all of the space on the right side of the basket, which is not much.
We will see Joona show us the backhand execution, less commonly gone to than the forehand. This needs a lot of understability to beat the log end. You saw him hanging it out the left side on Heiser. Did not find the turnover in time. Proceeds to the drop zone. This is about 16 meters and another one off the cage for Joona. He's right there from these long-range putts, but unable to connect completely. Rick for birdie.
This is a big putt and he gets it. He didn't win 2 world championships without making 11-meter putts like it's nothing.
Very important putt for Joona. Most people lay up from the drop zone, given the distance and the potential to have another comebacker as Joona did, but he's absolutely good for it. Effectively same result as laying up and tapping in ultimately, but was able to give it a chance for the par save. Daniel a touch closer, and another tentative release on the putting. A little bit low, a little bit left. Currently tied second with Niklas.
His driving is just absolutely almost perfect right now, but the putt is looking a little bit off. I'd say that used to be the thing in the earlier part of Daniel's career that kept him from winning more tournaments.
OTB is very specific on how they list the disc because they want you to like the disc.
Virtually in your hand tells you what the disc is going to feel like, how heavy it's going to be. It's everything you want to know before it shows up to your house.
Not just marketing.
It's only the best.
As I said, Daniel, that used to be the part of his game that was slightly weaker than his driving, but this year he has really improved his putting. Now moving on to hole number 7. A long par 5, a snaking fairway, mostly straight for the 2/3, the early 2/3 part. After that, we're making a big turn to the left. So want to throw something straight off the tee, want to throw something hyzering slightly around the corner on the second, rather push the backside than keep it close to the left side OB. And after two good shots, you usually have just a short approach left from about 50 or 60 meters. I'd say the first shot is where the biggest mistakes can be made if you find that left or right side OB.
And Ricky absolutely has momentum on his side. You look at that scorecard, you see the initial error on 1, but just a storm of birdies from 2 through 6. A strange error there from Rick, considering that that left to right shape is really required, and most often just the critical factor here isn't even distance, simply going over to the right with the backhand, exactly as Niklas displays there. Daniel as well, I expect to have a long and slow turn over to the right.
Great skip at the end of the flight, a little bit low out of the hand. You wanna rather throw too low than too high on this hole, as the low shots are never ending up to the OB. And Joona here, I believe going with a mid-range, beautiful flight, really showing off that smooth backhand form.
And you mentioned that he disked down, however he's put himself in good position to now throw the full driver, looking to crash straight and then a little bit left towards the end of the flight. That is absolutely the perfect spot to have a clean open look to the basket on his third. Very good spot for the birdie.
And Ricky here had to hit a gap very early on in the flight, does that well, and moving left, that's gonna be a bit of a problem for his stance, but I believe he has a good chance to throw some sort of a lean out forehand from there, a shot that he's very comfortable with. And look at Niklas's position, just beautiful drive, beautiful second shot. He can already see the basket, a luxury on this hole reserved only for those who throw 2 good shots off the tee and on the second.
Daniel going higher, more inside, more hyzer, a ton of speed. And he's getting way up there, of course. Could even jump putt that distance if he chooses to. Perhaps a small chip hyzer. Rick, however, going to the knee to open up the width, going to be shaping an anhyzer turnover. Some late stability important here with the OB to the left. And just Rick's scramble game on full display from a slightly awkward knee position. It's light work for him.
That's why he's the best scrambler in the world statistically. I believe many years out of the last years in the sport we have gathered more statistics. He has always been the best or one of the best scramblers in the world. And while scrambling for par is good here on the most difficult hole of the day, averaging still just slightly above par, looks like everybody else is going to be taking a birdie, assuming that everybody makes their short putts.
Daniel has been a little bit shaky on the green, not that time. The longest of the 4. Good that he can get that in and close the gap against Rick just a little bit. We see with a slightly slower start, Joona still hanging a significant amount of strokes behind Rick, but certainly in the mix, fighting in the top 10, of course in play for the podium. If he can streak together some good birdies on the back 9, and just like that, we see 3 out of 4, only our leader, Richard Wysocki, walking away without a birdie. They will continue to hole 8, a 132-meter par 3 over the water. Although it doesn't come in play, it does delineate the OB, which then extends to the right of the fairway. If you overturn something too far into that tree line, you can find that penalty stroke and proceed to the drop zone. Otherwise, these guys are shaping either a soft flex or hyzer flip into this late gap, often aiming at that tree to the right and fading before it is an ideal shape for the right-handed backhand. And with the wind down today, this is ripe for the picking for this caliber of player. They are all going to want to have a good putt at the birdie.
This one needs to get through some trees and doesn't do it. That's going to be one of the most common spots to land on this hole if you're not near the green. A lot of people just slightly turning it over to the right. Daniel needs to stay right to get the good skip. And he does. Look at that. Great reaction off the ground. Little 9-meter putt. I feel like he's been putting for birdie from inside the circle on every single hole so far.
You might be right. Joona as well with a favorable kick, finding that right side and coming back to the green. Very fortunate for him. We go to Rick now, looking to bounce back on that stroke lost on the previous hole. He had the eye of the tiger, you could see it, and he is attacking right up there. CTP for this lead card. That short putt, a tap in for Rick. More than often, we go first to Niklas with a very tight angle. This combination of high floor and low ceiling leaves him just a small gap to try and squeak through.
Very good shot from there. It's not a guaranteed up and down for par. And a very authentic look from the camera for that shot, as Joona unfortunately missing one more putt here. And Daniel, let's see if he's feeling comfortable. Not quite. It's tough to see a player driving so great, but just not quite putting it together on the green.
In comparison to Rick, who is obviously an amazing driver of the disc, but I think even more so relative to the field, an impressive putter in terms of consistency from Circle 1 and Circle 2. You can see why he is just so dangerous and how he has racked up that 4-stroke lead currently over the field. Niklas able to secure the par from the awkward position. Critical, solid scramble recovery from an off-the-fairway drive.
Ricky there taking the only birdie of the card. The rich are getting richer as we move on to hole number 9. 146 meters. Actually, the shape of this hole being very similar to the last one. Instead of going on flat ground over a valley, we're going over a valley and a little bit downhill. So the basket is going to be about 5 to 10 meters below the tee pad. You probably have to throw 130 meters to reach it. The line here is going to be straight, or if you want to do either left or right turning, you want to go a little bit left side of the fairway, turn it slightly to the right. Could see some people going for a forehand, but mostly this is going to be just a straight to slightly turning backhand shot. Important to get the height and the angle correct.
Ricky has crashed the hill successfully, getting him, I believe, just outside the circle, looking uphill. The common result here, airing it out a little too much, is something these players tend to avoid as you mitigate the fade. Niklas so smooth with it, absolutely parked in the bullseye. There's no doubt about that birdie now, leaving nothing left but a tap in.
And you mentioned Niklas talking about how he found his backhand. That shot looked very much like it. It was the perfect release, perfect angle, perfect speed. And Daniel there, catching some branches on the right, but a good result, circle 2, and a very runnable putt with that uphill slope behind the basket.
I think this particular hole shapes really nicely for Joona's game. It's the exact type of shot and line that he likes to craft. And just like that, he is underneath, closer even than Niklas. I had not seen that throw before, so I didn't know it, but honestly not surprised. That is right in there, his comfort zone, his bread and butter. Backhand driver. We go to Rick now, the longest birdie putt.
And not good, and this is what can happen on this hole. An absolute brutal roll away. That is rough. Now from having a birdie look and a comfortable 4-stroke lead, he's now putting for par from over 20 meters out.
He floats it, he gives it the height, and off the band he rolls again. This time less downhill, more laterally, but still outside the circle, significantly longer than you would like.
He just has to keep doing the same effort again, this time airing it over the basket. No roll away. So that's going to be a double bogey 5 for Ricky, and the entire tournament just got a whole lot more interesting.
No, our lead card falling prey to this hillside. It's a dangerous green, but this is, let's say, possible, although not particularly common. This slope requires you to find chains or nothing at all. Daniel Davidsson finds the chains and puts it in for par. Incredible composure.
And look at the almost careless demeanor. Just walks up to his disc, puts it in. Huge putt from 25 meters. This reminds me of a particular clip from Paul Macbeth from Jonesboro Open a few years back, where he rolls away, almost frustratedly picks up his putter and just jams it from 20 meters. Not to overlook the birdies of Niklas and Joona here. And look at the situation. Ricky all of a sudden leading only by 1 stroke over Niklas.
A huge stroke swing. Niklas taking the 2, Rick taking the 5. What a twist of fate for the Europeans now. Rick scored just out of reach at 21 under as we go into the back 9. Niklas 1 stroke behind him. Daniel 2 strokes behind Niklas. And everything just got a bit more exciting, Elias. The tension is in the air. It is palpable. There's only 9 holes left until we see who will be crowned your 2025 Ale Open MPO champion. If you enjoy this coverage, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Elias and I will catch you on the back 9, and we hope to see you there.